Welcome to the Find Your Exit podcast, where the leading authority on buying, selling, fixing, and growing companies, Michelle Seiler Tucker, is dedicated to helping you find the path to retire rich and move on to your next adventure by exiting your business for the desired dream price you deserve. Get ready to find your exit with your host, Michelle Seiler Tucker.
Welcome to Find Your Exit. I'm so excited today to introduce my very good friend, Alec Stern. Alec Stern is an entrepreneur, speaker, mentor, investor. He's become known as America's startup success expert for performing hundreds and hundreds of keynote speeches worldwide. He's been a co-founder or founding team member of 8 startups with 5 exits and 2 IPOs and 3 acquisitions. As a primary member of Constant Contact's founding team, Alex was one of the original 3 who started the company in an attic. Alex was with the company for 18 years, from startup to IPO to a $1.1 billion exit. Welcome to the show, Alec.
Thank you for having me. Good to see you, Michelle.
Thank you. Well, it's an absolute pleasure to have you. And you and I have crossed paths many years on many different stages.
That's correct. Yeah, we've been to some of the largest conferences and shared stages together. Yeah, we
have, and investment panels too.
That's right.
Because I'm an investor, you're an investor.
Yep.
Yeah. So tell me, how did you get started in entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so I guess I got the bug when I was young, just because growing up in my family, they provided for us for sure. But if you wanted something, if I wanted something special, I had to go make the money and buy it myself. So I became very entrepreneurial as a kid, and then I saw my mom start a business and as an entrepreneur, and would assist with things she needed as she was kind of growing her startup and small business. And so it all began there. And then after college, I came to Boston and worked for a large company. And then someone senior was going to a startup and wanted me to join and come along. So I didn't initially, because I had a big book of business sitting there that I wanted to close. And ultimately I did join, and we ended up going public. And so I sort of got the experience of seeing something grow and then have an exit. And that started the bug for me to do several. So.
And that was Constant Contact that you're talking about right now?
No, Constant Contact came later. I had several prior and a few after. Yeah.
So what was that first business, that first entrepreneurial business that you just talked about? Can you say the name of it, or? Yeah,
you wouldn't know, because it went public and then it got sold. So it was called VMark Software. And we were dealing with small businesses, and we had a database that smaller businesses could use easily. So we recruited applications to develop on our platform and then sell to small and medium business. Yeah.
Wonderful. And so you said that you started entrepreneurial as a little boy, or as a boy. What age did you start?
I think it was 8 when I first got into the snow shoveling, car detailing, and lawn cutting business.
Okay, good for you. I have a 9-year-old, and I keep telling her, if you want something, go work.
Right.
Go create a business, sell lemonade, do something. But mommy's not going to just give it to you.
Yeah, I just had to learn. I had to learn that as well. And actually, it's funny because I started recruiting some of the other kids in the neighborhood. So, and I got more and more business. I would go recruit for new business. I would get some of the kids in the neighborhood to help me. So I would get paid and pay them.
Wow. So you were a leader from a very young age.
I was.
Because you see a lot of kids that will go out and, deliver newspapers or cut grass or do something like that, but they typically don't recruit other kids to do that.
Yeah. And in fact, my first job was I delivered a free newspaper, and I read it once, and I'm like, it's free. No one's going to read it. Why do I have to deliver this? So my mom kept pushing me, like, you got to keep, it's good that you have a job and they're paying you. And I'm like, no one's reading this thing. It's terrible. And so, I started delivering to the first few houses and the last few houses, and finally, I got fired. So I didn't want to do the job.
Oh, you got fired?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So
I think most great entrepreneurs have been fired at some point.
Well, I started out early in my entrepreneurial career because I'm like, no one's reading this free paper. I'm not delivering it, and I got caught not delivering it. So I was like, I don't want the job anyway.
That's awesome. So your mom was an entrepreneur, right? Your mom's an entrepreneur. What about your father?
So my dad was in textiles, and he was on the design side. So he was involved in several patents and stuff, but more of the engineering R&D type. Yeah.
So do you think people are born as an entrepreneur, or do you think it's something that's kind of a learned, from generations?
I don't think it's so much of born to be an entrepreneur, but I think it's just how people, how they deal with things. So some people are street smart, right, and just can really kind of assess the situation and adapt as needed. And others are more book smart and will read all the books on how to start a business and how to scale it. And both are great approaches to it. It's just like music. I'm a drummer, so you either play by ear, you play by music, or you do both.
Right.
So I think entrepreneurship is the same, where it's just drive and ability to or willingness to want to succeed, and there's a lot of sort of characteristics that you could point to in folks that are entrepreneurs. And so I think it's more about are you the type that seeks the drive, or do you want a 9-to-5 job that you leave behind you when you go home, or do you want to quit that job and work twice as hard and take it with you
and do every job?
Do every job, right? Be the general store manager of your own business and wherever you have.
Right.
Anyway, I think it's probably a combination.
So what are you, the street smart or the book smart, or both?
I think I'm both. Reading situations and people and visualizing the outcome of situations. I think I do a pretty good job of that, and assessing kind of what's needed in each of the different situations. So. But I think, just having studied business and stuff and reading some books, I'm not obsessed with the reading of the books as much as, putting things into practice and testing it myself. But I think it's a combination of both. Yeah.
So how many businesses altogether have you been involved with? Now,
it's 8 to 10.
8 to 10? Okay. How quick can you assess a business and decide if that's a business that you want to take part in? Like,
well, so most of these,
chart?
So most of it is around, it's the main 3 or 4 things. How big is this market? Is it a really large market that you're addressing? And it may start with a small vertical in the market and then expand to others. How is it being addressed with the products or services that you're considering today? And is there room for improvement? Is it something that hasn't been updated or anyone sort of enhancing the way things are done? And then do you know your exact target market? And if so, go get feedback from them. And so the faster you can go out and talk to them about what are their goals and objectives, their vision, what do they want more of, less of. I want to increase revenue. I want to lower. Decrease the amount of time I spend on things, or decrease my expense, or whatever the major things that they're feeling. And I want to stay top of mind to my customers. I want to drive them back in. I want more revenue. I want, new customers, whatever the things that they're sort of achieving. And if you then show them what you're doing or you want to be doing and get wide-eyed and see there's an opportunity there, then you're onto something. And so then it's an execution play. If it's a good idea and the target market feels that they want it or need it, then you got to just be able to execute it better than others that are out there if it's not new.
Now, is that mostly in startups that you're referring to, or is that existing businesses that you're referring to?
I just, everything we're talking about is startups.
Everything's startups.
Okay. I've invested in and gotten involved in existing, but most of what I'm doing is, looking for new ideas, either products or services that can be done better, or new products or services that don't exist. And so that's all of what I just said was really around assessing, the market fit. You could apply some of that to existing business, but I'm talking about, going out. You said, if you how do you get started if you have an idea, and so you need to, and how fast can you get it? How fast can you tell if it's a good idea?
Right.
What's your target market telling you? You've got to go out and assess. If they see a good fit, then there's a potentially a good opportunity.
So do you do kind of what like Kevin Harrington does, where he sees an idea and then he goes out and tests it immediately, like on Facebook and some of those social media platforms, just to see how the market reacts to it? Do you do the same thing?
Yeah. So I I don't want to speak for Kevin, and he's a friend, and I've known him for years. I mean, what he typically there's a product that's already been built, and they're coming to say, I need now to figure out the go to market, and immediately get it out there, get feedback and test it.
Yeah.
Even earlier than that, you might have an idea. How do I take this idea and source out and vet the idea? And that's what I was talking about. You take an idea forward, you bring it to your target market, you get feedback, and then you go off and build. And then based on feedback, you build something they want versus working in a vacuum and creating something because I know what they want. I used to be one of them. Well, you don't know who they are today. You've got to go and bring a prototype or bring an idea or a service or something to them and get their feedback before you're gonna go too far with building it. I think Kevin comes into the mix when someone's has that. He may even start earlier with someone with an idea and then help build the idea into a product. But usually it's consumer centric and it's products. This could be products or services, and then it's when you're going out to do the testing of it in the market. Certainly going out and pushing out things out on social and sort of the direct response through social or TV or commercials or what have you is what Kevin and his team and others like them have succeeded at.
So do you look for like a particular industry or a particular service, or are you pretty much industry agnostic and it's just a product that you think will have huge market share?
Yeah, so a lot of I'm in a lot of industries now. I mean, most of my career has been in software for the most part. Constant Contact was one of the first two SaaS offerings on the IBM platform. One of the first two SaaS offerings for small business. SaaS obviously is now everyone knows it today as cloud or SaaS, and there's so many things you can go out and sort of pay a subscription for and use, rent the software, if you will. And so a lot of that I look at and do today is through a venture fund that I'm a limited partner in called G20 Ventures, so group of 20 G20 Ventures, and it's here in Boston. And on the East Coast we look at software and different unified communications and ad tech and a bunch of areas for tech, which would feed through that. For myself, I've expanded out beyond tech, which was most of my career. And now, we've got an innovation think tank that are creating manufactured products for consumer, medical device. There's some B2B stuff. And so we're creating our own companies and products, for looking at large markets that hadn't been disrupted in years and creating new products. Right.
Has that kind of changed now with COVID as far as what you're looking at? Because, what was once popular is not, and what wasn't popular is now. Like Ford is manufacturing respirators. You've got all these companies stepping out and manufacturing all these things that everybody needs now. So has that changed what you're looking at, or are you innovating as well into that?
Yeah, I mean, the stuff we're innovating now, some of it's essential and will be essential going forward. Like,
toilet paper.
We're working at a heart-related medical device, for example, that's going to be essential. And we've got a walking cane and reaching grasper combined, which is essential. So I think nothing's changing in what I was doing before to what I'm doing now and what I'll do going forward. I think to your point, there's several areas of disruption available for folks. The whole distribution model of how we moved goods and services around the world. And even just in the U.S. has changed, and the products and services that are being made today. There's going to be there are new categories and things, as you're referencing, that will be opportunities today. There's a lot of areas, but there's still something to be said for how we've done business in the past to how we'll do it in the future. There will be changes there as well, and virtual, and as we're doing here with the podcast, there's all kinds of new things that will be supplemented into the way we do business, and it's not going to always, for a retailer on Main Street somewhere, it's not going to always just be wait till someone shows up, market to drive them back in to show up. You might be doing things virtually, and I've been coaching a lot of businesses even throughout this while we're sitting at home, sheltering at home. There might be a gallery has a storefront full of art that's locked up because they can't have anyone come in. I'm like, bring the art home, bring the art onto a live session, bring the artist on the live session, have them talk about what got them into painting and so on. Have them talk about do a curated art show and have them talk about the artwork,
Right.
and then do it live and have your customers come on, have your customers do a watch party and have others, and lo and behold, someone buys a piece of art, somewhere in this sphere of our connections on social. And so there's a way for you to like kind of unlock the treasures of that, in that case, the gallery, virtually. So there's a lot of things that'll change in how we can do business and broaden our reach as we've gotten accustomed to doing, these Zooms. My mom is 87 and asked me the other day if she could have a Zoom account.
That's wonderful. I think it was on one of the news shows today that Zoom just hit like, I don't know, $1 billion or $500 billion or something like that due to COVID virus, and everybody's Zooming right now. So, so good for them. But yeah, you're talking about what I always talk about, which is pivot. I tell my clients too, you must pivot right now. You can't do business the same way you've been doing business. And it's funny because on my last podcast that you mentioned art, we actually had a gentleman that has Artscape, and Artscape is virtual reality for art. So there's like 3,000 different artists that he works with that license to Artscape. And so you put the painting up and then you use the app on your phone and it makes it come to life.
Right.
It's really cool. So there's so many different things that business owners can do. They just have to, don't paralyze, don't freeze, just take massive action and pivot. Figure out how you can pivot. Yeah,
and I think it's a couple of things are sort of lost. When everyone moved home, the businesses closed down. The assumption is, well, I'll get back to my customers when things come back alive in our town, our neighborhood, or what have you. But now's the time you should be doubling down and staying in touch with your customers. Most people are sort of leaving those behind, and the point is now, they want to hear from you. They have more time. What can you be doing in your business that just an extension of your business, adjacent to what you did before, but now do it a little bit differently? And so even like restaurants where, they could be putting programs in place where, do you want a meal in the box? Well, that's takeout. Do you want a meal in a box that you bring home and you cook with the chef live on a Zoom with the family? And here's the box of all the food, and here's the prep you do before the show. And when the show starts, we're all going to get on there, and the families are going to all cook. And
what a great experience!
Like you can be doing these virtual experiences. The chef comes alive. No one gets to really experience most chefs, and every chef is every chef, at least the ones that I know here, maybe not have TV shows and everyone know them as a personality, but they have an opportunity. They have such great skills. They make amazing food. And to imagine seeing them on a live, and helping you cook your meal and talk through the meal and pairings and all kinds of stuff. And, so you could have a weekly, family, the family, cook together.
That's a wonderful idea. You're like the ideals man.
Yes. So just to go industry by industry, you'll find all kinds of ways you can just modify it a bit.
It's funny that you mentioned restaurants because we have a restaurant right here in New Orleans. You've been to New Orleans, right?
Many times, yeah.
We have a restaurant called Commander's Palace. Have you ever been there?
No, by name. I might have been, yeah.
Yeah, it's like world's famous restaurant, so many years in a row. Everybody knows about it. Well, their whole, I always ask my clients, what business are you in and what business should you be in? They're in the experience business of creating experiences. So, and connecting, people. So when the restaurant closed down, they came up with this genius idea of having a wine and cheese tasting online.
Right.
So my girlfriend bought it for my husband and I, and it's anywhere from $100 to $500, and it includes like 3 or 4 bottles of wine, cheeses, and they had like 300 people on a last Zoom call from all over the country. They have people from Paris, and even if you can't get their wine and cheese, you can go out and buy a similar wine and cheese and still be part of the experience.
Right.
So they went out and, asked their clients, what do you need? And the clients are like, we miss everybody. We miss our friends. We miss connecting, and that's what they went and created. And your idea is brilliant.
Yeah. The other one, like every restaurant, if they don't want to get into the experience side that way, everyone's pent up to want to go to these restaurants again. When are we going to be able to go back out and have a nice dinner? And so, some of the restaurants, it's like, why don't you offer, for a $100 gift certificate today, I'll give you $150 in product when we open.
Right.
And so one restaurant raised $30,000, by selling these, gift cards. Everyone wanted to support them and help them. And that saved the restaurant because they needed the funds to do stuff before they were going to get their, PPP monies and some other things.
Right.
So there's just, it's think, we always say think outside the box, and
I say throw the box away.
Box is gone, and now there's going to be a new box. We don't even know what size and shape it's going to be. And so start thinking about what you can do today that would just, move you and advance you toward, kind of how we're going to do this going forward. Right. These experiences at these restaurants that we just talked about in the gallery and all kinds of other businesses, that could stay in the mix. And now they can broaden their reach and they could do the experience beyond who's walking into the restaurant.
They can come out of this crisis bigger, better, stronger, more scalable than they ever were before it.
Right, exactly.
In my opinion. And like you said, you can really go down and do this for every single industry.
Right.
And, but I always tell my clients, because, people get stuck. And I always say when you're in your fog, it's foggy.
Right.
And it's hard to read the label from the inside of a bottle. You need an outsider's perspective to do so.
Right.
So sometimes these business owners just need to hear from somebody like you or somebody like me or, somebody that they can bounce ideas off of.
Totally. Yeah, no, it's so the other key thing is that we've sort of just walked through a period of time where, like, before all this hit, everyone's on their hamster wheel, the day-to-day, the tactics.
Right.
We're just going through the motions and the cycles. And so they often say, take time to work on your business, not in your business. And so, so this opportunity is really giving people the chance to step back and look at things strategically. And I've asked one of the first questions I asked someone, if business was the way it was before and you were on, on your day-to-day sort of rhythm, were you at a plateau, or do you see scale opportunity in your business the way you're doing it before? Mm-hmm. And 90% of them say no. So it's like, okay, if you're happy with the amount of business you were doing, it's family run, you're providing for your family, you're paying for your kids' colleges, you're getting that extra second home, maybe the boat later or whatever. If you're happy with that and you have the right lifestyle and you can provide the way you want for you and your family, then that is your scale. Like, you don't have to worry to go beyond that. But most people say, I want more. I want to grow this. I want to maybe open a second location. I want to do all kinds of things. And so this is your opportunity to say, were you on the path to doing that or not? And most would say they weren't. So then it's okay. I don't always necessarily want to use, when people hear the word pivot, they think that it's just, okay, I'm over here and now I'm over here. No. It's not necessarily. It's like, what's adjacent to what you did before? And it's an adjustment. You might just have some sort of an adjustment, and you might find the bigger opportunity sitting right next to what you're doing today.
And we call it a congruent pivot. Yeah. Congruent. Yeah. It doesn't mean leave this business and go start another business. Right.
But everyone just jumps to that, and that's not the answer. It's probably sitting so close to you, and because you were so caught up in the tactics in the day-to-day, you just didn't see it.
And if you're in your fog, it's foggy.
Right. You got it. Exactly.
And things are not clear. And it's I really think it's one of the reasons why, when I wrote my first book, Sell Your Business for More Than It's Worth, in 2013, I did the research. And it used to be that 85 to 95% of businesses would go out of business in the first 1 to 5 years, right? Then when I wrote Exit Rich in 2019, I did the research again, and I wrote this book with Sharon Lechter, and I did not believe it. I had my team go back and research it over and over and over again. That number's changed dramatically. It's now 30% will go out of business in the first 1 to 5 years, and out of over 27 million businesses, 70% of businesses will go out of business after being in business 10 years.
Wow.
Did you know that?
I knew the stats, so I didn't realize they were that big. But yeah.
It's big. And, you hear about the big box stores like Toys R Us and JCPenney's and Kmart. But I think the number one reason that all these small businesses are going out of business is because they stop innovating and they stop marketing.
Yeah. So which you raised a good point about, we can't sit on our heels a bit or sit back on your skis instead of really kind of putting yourself forward and attacking the market and trying to stay ahead of everything, constantly innovating and looking for new ways to improve and so what happens is competition shows up and then passes them by because they were comfortable the way they did it before. Well, it's always worked this way.
Right.
I heard that from one more business that's been around for a while. Someone's running by them, and
even when they're in the ground and closing up, they say, "Well, it's always worked this way."
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I've had several that I've tried to work with to just get them to think outside of what they were doing and expand on what they were doing. But people can get comfortable or just don't see the bigger picture and the opportunity.
Well, and they stop asking. They stop asking and listening to their customers or clients about what their needs are, because whoever makes it easiest for the consumer to do business with them is the one who's going to win. Like, look at Amazon. Amazon's winning because you can order anything you want from your bed wearing whatever you want to wear.
That's right. And it's going to be there in 2 to 4 hours, most likely.
Right. So people really have to innovate. So let's talk a little bit about Constant Contact. Are you okay with that?
Sure.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Constant Contact, how you got involved, the process, and then you had a huge exit. And my podcast is all about find your exit.
Right.
So let's talk
actually,
about that.
I wrote a testimonial for your book, which is somewhere in the inner cover or something.
You sure did write a testimonial. Thank you for doing that.
You and Sharon, close to both of you, and you guys are amazing. So it's a great. You guys did a great job with the book. So, So the journey of Constant Contact. I had done several startups prior that were dealing with small businesses and different aspects of small business, and Randy, kind of the original founder, with an idea, was also doing something similar, and we had a joint, kind of mutual friend that was an entrepreneur that had some success, and he had said it on a couple of occasions, you guys should meet, and we happened to be at my friend's, our joint friend's wedding, sitting back to back, but just never met, and he got caught up in all the love of the marriage and whatever, and the wedding itself, and just didn't make the connection. Well, after he came back from his honeymoon, he said, "Hey, I got to connect you guys." And so I was really coming in to talk to Randy about he had a product, and I came from a solution perspective, if you will, and we just got a meeting of the minds going and really connected on how we wanted to help small businesses. From a different perspective. We wanted to level the playing field for small businesses against big competitors. Amazon and others were out there. They had enterprise tools. They had agencies. They had teams. They had resources. They had whatever they needed. And Main Street small business had nothing.
Right.
We thought, how can we level that playing field if we were to provide this self-service, easy-to-use tool and eventually a suite of tools? Could we level that playing field? Let them create these great-looking, emails and do other things later.
Right.
And so what we needed to do was just go out and talk to our target, talk to the target market, and again understand what they were looking for and what they wanted to do. And they said things like, "I'd love to stay top of mind to my current customers. I'd love to be able to drive them back in. I'd love more revenue. I'd like current customers to tell others and drive new people in." And so when we were able to sort of say, well, if we were able to provide you a easy-to-use tool that all you have to know is, what you want to say, when you want to say it, and to whom, and everything else was taken care of for you. You can put your colors in and your logo and your message, and then we do all your tracking and everything. Would that be, you see that as being a useful tool for you? And they all got wide-eyed and said, yeah, that would be great. And so we knew we early on that we had an idea and we were onto something that could help that target market. Then it was a question of going off and sort of building it. And we didn't stay in stealth mode, which a lot of companies do. I put that in quotes because they oftentimes want to be so close to the vest and don't want to talk to anyone, afraid someone's going to take the idea. You don't have to give away the secret sauce, but you've got to get out there and show them, something that they can give you feedback on. And so then we did that and we started building the product. It wasn't finished. We got it in the hands. I went out and found 4 customers and, that would take the product. And I always say, don't go to people don't go to family, don't go to people you've done business with before. Go to total strangers in your target market and you'll get brutal, honest feedback. So we got that. We got those 4 and they told us what they thought of when they found a bug or it wasn't working right, and of course other features they wanted, and they ended up becoming our first examples of case studies and testimonials, and so we sort of started the kind of on that track, and it was 3 of us in an attic. It was Margaret, Randy, and I, and They were both technical. Margaret was our software architect, and of course, Randy with the original technical idea, and just both were extremely, extremely bright and deep on the abilities on the tech side, and I was on the go-to-market and the business side, and we just had to figure out, what was our go-to-market kind of look like. We got a lot of no's. We got a lot of people telling us no one's going to use email for marketing. No, they already have an inbox. They're not going to use some other tool.
What year was that? Alex, what year was that? Sorry, what year was that?
97 into 98.
Okay.
1998. And so, we got a lot of this sort of no, and no one sells to small business. Who's going to go down Main Street selling to small business? You need an army of salespeople. And the only one that's doing that is ADP and Intuit and others. And we heard it all. But we stayed focused on this, and because we saw what we could do and how excited they got and how wide-eyed they got with what we were working on.
Right.
And so that kept us motivated to keep going. And of course, then the question was, how are we gonna get this going in mass? Because it was me, myself, and I on the team, right, going out talking to small businesses, and I couldn't do that, or go to Main Street around the world. Wasn't going to scale, and the answer is not hire 100 salespeople. So
right.
We ended up working through a whole 100% through a channel strategy with alliances and partnerships, and finding where small businesses were hanging out, and then plugging ourselves in with our solution and our offering and the best practices to those organizations, who then would expose us to our target customer. And so the flywheel takes time to get going through channels, as it does even direct. But the important point was that we were able to land a lot of those key partnerships, get ourselves exposed to the target customer, and start to see some flow of customers come in, and then of course that flywheel got going, and it allowed us eventually to, as we were building up and scaling, to do our own marketing and drive customers directly to us. And so, you'll hear radio ads and TV ads. We were first, imagine like 15% of all startups are something brand new and innovative, didn't happen before. There's Uber, Airbnb, and Constant Contact in the same mix. There wasn't another sort of tool for small businesses. So once we got the flywheel out going, and we did do our own marketing, we had to market the category first, email marketing. Others that started to show up as competitors, and this was some years later, but they were getting the benefit of our marketing dollars because we were educating people on the category.
That happens.
Yeah, but we had to do that first, and then second, then we marketed and did ads around our brand.
Right.
So it was a long fun journey. We were an overnight success in 18 years. And so,
overnight success. I love that. Overnight success in 18 years. I love that.
And so we went public at year 10 roughly, and about 8 years later we sold for $1.1 billion. So
wow. And so there was 3 of you that started it, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
And when you said that you used other channels, what kind of channels were those? Can you tell us some of those?
Yeah, all indirect relationships, one-to-many scenarios, not direct. Direct one-to-one is if I walk to a small business and I tell them about it and they buy.
Right.
Channels are, and we had tons of different channels and categories that we worked with. Anyone that's listening, the average business will have 15 channel categories for the business. And so I'll ask folks, are you working through other alliances, strategic partnerships, channels to get to your target market? And many are not. And so there's opportunity for everyone in your business to work through others. So in the case of working with small businesses and bringing a product and suite of products like Constant Contact to market, there was 100 plus channels that we worked through. The one that everyone that's listening shares is association and member orgs. So that's one category, and there's many subcategories underneath. Yeah. So you can look at your chambers, you can look at associations that are in certain verticals, for example. And so every business we're in, there's the association of local, regional, national. They have networking groups that your target customers, meeting in. They
Right.
also have their conferences, and they look for thought leadership and best practices for speaking. And
Right.
so we're speaking on all the stages to get access to our target market. And so that's the one everyone shares. And then there's so many that deviate from there.
Right.
Complementary businesses for so the case of email marketing would be the CRM system or the POS system or the donor management system or the different things they use to run the business. And then we could be a plug-in to take the information they've gathered to turn around and send communications out through email.
Right.
For them. And so there's all kinds of different categories that influencers, there's tons of bloggers and influencers talking about your industry. And if they like your product, they want to tell their listeners, so you can just go down the line and find a ton of different categories.
Well, I got Steve Forbes to endorse Exit Rich, so that was good. And Kevin Harrington to write the foreword, so that was good.
There you
go. But so how many no's did you get? Because I always tell my clients, it takes so many no's before you get that yes. But how many no's did you get?
Yeah, so I treat no's differently. To me, a no means not now. And so I hear a no, and it means it's just not now for us to work together. And so oftentimes I would circle back around with folks and stay in touch and update them on what we were doing, give them some highlights to what we were doing, and then those no's became yeses later. So we got a bunch of them. As I mentioned earlier, there were a ton of no's that we got for all different kind of folks that we were circling to look at possible investment or loan or possibly becoming like a strategic advisor and what have you. And so anyway, there's
because you were in the beginning. You were like before anybody was doing it, right?
Yeah, there was no one doing it for small
Nobody.
business,
Yeah.
right? And so we were the first. So understandably, there's some of that with regard to folks not seeing something like this, and to my point earlier, not being able to sell to small businesses effectively without an army of people and a big sort of war chest of money to do so. And
well,
channels came into play to help us with that scale.
I'm a huge Constant Contact user, have been for years. So when I heard you speak on stage, I'm like, oh my God, I got to meet him. So tell me about the exit. So when did you all start? Did you plan the exit? Because y'all went IPPO, and then you said 8 years later you sold, right?
Yeah. So I mean, I guess there's planning around the IPO, kind of the 10-year mark, and you start thinking about that when your business model starts and your success starts working directionally for how you're managing your revenue and your expense and number of customers and all kinds of those metrics start growing. So there was a logical path to potentially go public, and we were fortunate to be able to do so. From there, the business was growing, and there wasn't an expectation that there would be anything beyond that. And so it just things happen for reasons. So we partnered with with somebody, and we had good success, and we poured gas on the partnership and had more success, and they came around and said, I think we want to buy you because we were a great fit to all the things they were offering, and we fit an area that they didn't have an offering for, and it was a logical fit for them to want to acquire us, and they did. So Endurance International, which was a house of brands, they had about 40 other acquisitions prior, and we fit into their continuum of in the journey of someone who's starting a business. They did everything from, well, you need a domain, you need your email accounts with that, you need a website, might need e-commerce, and then so we were in the nurture and kind of staying top of mind engagement area for the customers that they had acquired. So they had all the tools leading up to staying top of mind and being able to work with their customers. They had millions of small businesses. It was a perfect fit, and kind of not anything we sought out and said, oh, these are the guys. But we did know them. We started the businesses around the same time, and we always stayed in touch, and and we're able to work through a partnership that was successful, and the rest was history.
Did you have an M&A advisor assist, or did you? No,
we were partnering.
So you were already partnering.
No, we were partnering. We're doing business. It was successful. We weren't like suiting to like have someone help us find a buyer. We were doing great. Our revenues when we sold were $450 million. We had 750,000 customers. We had 1,500 amazing employees, 8,000 partners. Like, we were on our way and things were going great. So it wasn't a situation where we were, looking to, find somebody who was going to maybe, shop around the business and see who would be a good target. We partnered with somebody, we had great success, and it led to an acquisition.
That was great for y'all. That doesn't work for everybody. A lot of business owners need advisors. Yeah.
Yeah. So
a great partnership. And when they bought you at the 1.8 billion, they bought
1.1.
Oh, 1.1. Okay. I like to add. So
round up. Yeah.
Yeah, round up. So when they bought you at 1.1, did they buy a percentage or did they buy the entire business?
No, they bought the whole company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Once we came into the family, we were both public. We went private and then sort of fell under them as a public company.
How long did you stay on?
I stayed about a year after, just kind of in a consulting role, and then didn't have any sort of real responsibility during that time, and then moved on.
So you could retire, but yet you still keep plugging along, and putting out some great businesses, right?
Yeah, I mean, we created an innovation think tank with some folks that on the manufacturing side, and we've spun out three businesses now, and 2 are generating revenue, and the third one's is a medical device. It's going to take a little more time, and so I took some time off, but didn't have it in me to just stop. I've got a lot of ideas, and working with some great people that have ideas, and
right.
I wanted to play in the space a bit more there, and spend half my time paying forward and going and speaking around the world, and really just doing 10 to 15 podcasts and summits and lives a week, and just really being out there to just share early days lessons learned, and what some of the things that we did that in different companies. Everyone gravitates to constant contact, but there were several that make up kind of some of the learnings that I have. And
well, because most of us have used it.
Yeah, not fair. I'm not a judgment. I think it's great that it had such a household name and business hold name, and but there was a lot of experience beyond that comes into the mix, and for me it was also being able to take all those learnings and test it in different markets. So I've tested things in the nonprofit space. I've tested things in B2B and B2C and consumer and medical device, and so a lot of it carries over, which for me has been a personal challenge to test things beyond tech, and it's been great that it all applies, and I can help work with small businesses and startups to take it to the next level.
Do you consult small business owners as well? Do you have a consulting company?
Yeah, I do. So there's kind of creating breakthrough mentor opportunities. So we'll work. I'll work with some. I don't take on many. Some I'll jump on the board, or I'll be a strategic advisor, or I'll actually be a mentor consultant. So depends on the role, and then we'll work through and see what makes sense. And so I have been helping some, and it's picked up a bit more these days, just with a little more time, and so always open to that.
What's your number one tip for business owners? Number one, if you just picked one tip to tell our listeners, what would it be?
So it's one of the first things I always lead with when I'm talking to them is, what's the one core thing that you can do to be successful in your business? We all sit there and get wide-eyed about what we can offer our target market, and we want to add all these things. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that, and I call it the bicycle wheel syndrome. And so if you had a bicycle wheel and every spoke is another idea, right. we all want to offer all those spokes on that wheel to our target market. Right. And I would ask, what's the one spoke you're going to start with, that you're going to have success with? Because if you have success with doing the first one, if you can execute that first one, you're going to get feedback. You're going to get case studies. You're going to get revenue. You'll be able to then hire. Do some marketing. You can do all kinds of things with that flywheel of revenue kicks in, and so you've got to nail the first one, right. And then you go to something that's adjacent to it. Some of those spokes that are adjacent. Eventually, you get to the crazy ideas that are completely different. And if you look at large companies, the ones that have really succeeded, that have expanded and gone outside of even that first, kind of core thing they did. They've all done it very logically in that, like Nike, right? Started with sneakers. They did sneakers initially for basketball, then they did for tennis and other things.
Right.
Then they broadened that to complementary things around the sneakers, like the running, the sweats, and the running clothes, and what have you.
Right.
Then they went to other industries like golf, where they're doing cleats, and golf clubs and bags and balls and all kinds of other things. And so you can't do golf clubs and basketball shoes at the same time when you're starting.
Right.
It makes no sense. And I oftentimes, talk to startups and some small businesses, and they're doing just that. They have all these grand plans and ideas, and they're like, it's almost like when they're sharing all the ideas, it's like, well, stop me when I tell you one you're interested in. I'm like, I just want to know what's the first one that you're going to succeed at.
Right.
And then we can put the others on the shelf for now, and we can talk about those when you've had success.
Yeah, it's kind of like the book, The One Thing. Have you ever read the book, The One Thing?
Yeah.
By Gary Keller from Keller Williams.
Right.
Yeah. It's the one thing. So that's great advice. So what's your next big masterpiece that we're going to exit?
I'll work out of a few. So one of them is, I'll demonstrate. It's a walking cane. So, normal sort of cane.
Okay, wonderful.
Right? But we often, folks can't bend down and have mobility issues. So we added a grasper.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's like your hand, right?
And you have a patent on that?
We do. We have several. And so it's a cane and a grasper combined. It's called the Reacher Grasper cane.
Is there anything else on the market like that?
No, we have the patent for a concealed grasper inside a cane.
Wonderful. So is that on market now?
It's on Amazon and also reachergraspercane.com.
Wow.
And so, so it's essential. We brought it to market. We've tested it through a bunch of different channels. It's channel strategy. People are buying it direct as well. And so that's just one of the things from the innovation think tank that we.
I want to buy that now. I mean, I can walk, but it's a lot of time.
The grasper helps you take stuff off of shelves, and people are buying it just for the quality of the grasper, because most of the ones out there just don't work as effectively, and they break and so on. So this is the best one. It operates like your hand and picks something up. You can hold a little bit of weight, 5 pounds less. And so, see someone in the supermarket being able to reach something off a shelf without having to ask someone, or someone walking down the aisle, or they might not be able to, they don't have the mobility to be able to reach something. And,
right.
So it gives them alternatives, or more importantly.
I use that in my kitchen when I can't reach stuff.
Right. Like I say, just kind of walking around the house, it's used a lot,
Right.
My mom had both knee replacements, and she was going out to the car a few years back, and she was fumbling through her bag, got her keys, dropped them on the ground. She couldn't bend down and pick them up. And so she had to wait. She was calling, trying to get someone to come to the car, but no one's around, in her building. And so finally, 25 minutes later, someone walks by, and she yelled to them to come over to pick up the keys to hand to her so she'd go on her way.
Wow.
Now she's got the Reacher Grasper cane, drops something, converts it to the grasper, picks it up, puts it back into a cane, and goes on her way.
Wow. That's a brilliant idea. Brilliant.
Yeah. So that's just some of the things, disrupting two markets that have been around for a long time, but no one's really innovated. So create the best grasper, create the best cane, and then we put them together.
So that goes back to my earlier statement where I said business owners need to innovate.
Right.
Like you said, it's an industry that's been around forever, but they haven't innovated it.
Right. I mean, how many times have you seen the aluminum cane with the gray handle and the gray tip that gets handed to you in any setting, a hospital or a PT or wherever you go? And there's a better way. And so we were able to create the award-winning. It's also got some innovation awards and best of show at a couple of the ability conferences and stuff. So.
Wow. Anything else sitting around you that you want to demonstrate?
I've got a few others, but
I will definitely have you back on the show. I have one funny story I want to tell you. Well, it's not really funny, but it's a great story about Constant Contact. So one of the first times I ever used Constant Contact, and I know you don't want to be identified with Constant Contact, but
that's not true. I'm very proud of it, and it's still going strong, and I have great things to say about it. So
one of my first email blasts that we sent out to business owners, it was actually a cold list that we sent out to business owners. We sold a multi-million-dollar company from that list, from one email. The owner's son called us up and said, "Oh my gosh, I got your email. And yes, we're thinking about selling. Come see us."
Wow.
And that one email generated a 7-figure commission.
Right, and you probably paid 3 figures to use it a year.
And I'm still using it and loving it.
That's
still
great.
using it. I left one time, but then I came back.
Yeah, but so you were staying in touch. You stay top of mind. People
Right.
receive it, and they're thinking, "Oh my God, we were just thinking we need to sell or whatever, or we want to buy something, whatever it is," or they share it with others. You so and so just said they want to buy. Let me forward this to them. They
Right.
get to see your message and be like, "Oh, let's reach out and talk to her."
Absolutely.
So it's so important on the engagement side of customers that you stay in touch.
It is.
Email is great in the marketing mix. And some people, can supplement in other things like social or maybe direct mail or whatever. There are other things they're doing, some ads, but it plays an important role as
Right.
one of those touches, marketing touches that you do on a regular basis.
Right.
Yeah.
We have a list of probably, 30, 40, 50,000 businesses, and we email it every week.
Yeah, that's great.
So next time when you're ready to sell your next masterpiece, hopefully you'll think of me.
All right.
Any last minute words for listeners? Words of wisdom?
Words of wisdom. Yeah. So one of my other mantras is accomplishments are something to build on, not rest on. And so oftentimes in the course of a day, we might have that 5-year vision of something we're shooting for.
Right.
But what are you doing today that's gonna get you success, getting you closer to that vision? And every day we have to look for multiple successes. But the key thing is when you have a success in the day, so let's just say you picked up the phone and you called a prospective client and they were very receptive and they love the call and they want to have a follow-on call with the team or want you to come out or whatever it may be. Most people would put their feet up and celebrate. And I say to you, don't. That's a great accomplishment. Build on it. Now make another call. Because the energy from that success is going to be felt through the phone, or if you go see someone,
Right.
you're going to have success again, and then don't celebrate, make another call. And when you finish that day after having a lot of success, then celebrate.
Right. Absolutely. And it's at the momentum, right? You want to keep that momentum growing.
Yeah.
One final question. Who's your mentor?
Yeah, so I love that question. So my mentors are on Main Street, and in particular, even on the urban civic main streets. So I do a lot with small businesses. I like to go anywhere I go. I walk Main Street. I walk in and I talk to them, and I get motivated anytime I get to speak to a small business. And so that's who I look up to, and just all the hard work that they're putting in to be successful, and especially in the inner city. I spend a lot of time with inner city small businesses, and also anyone with new ideas. There's several accelerators, and I just say to everyone that's listening, we all have a skill. We have something we can provide, and
Right.
give back. Go talk to your local businesses, or go into an inner city and work through some of the accelerators that are working on ideas with those folks, and lend a hand, lend your expertise. And so that's what motivates me. I've had the chance to meet everyone you can imagine. And we've been on stages with some of the best, and even as of late, virtually, so many on stages together virtually. And so I look up to everyone that way, but I am really charged by seeing what high schoolers up for new ideas, and especially in the urban setting, and then of course the universities and others as well,
Right.
and then also Main Street. And so that's my mentors.
You and I have a lot in common, because I always say that I'm like a kid in a candy store. I get so excited to see how someone's built a multi-million-dollar or billion-dollar company, in their garage or a kitchen table, out of nothing. So yeah, I get inspired just like you.
Yeah, good.
So how can our listeners contact you? How can they reach you?
Yeah, so the best thing is my website, which is Alec Speaks, AlecSpeaks, AlecSpeaks.com. They can learn a little bit more about me, and there's a place if they want to book a speaker that will motivate your audience, or if they want to talk about mentoring and have breakthrough opportunities occur. There's some different ways to reach out. My social channels there as well, and they can connect with me on social.
So wonderful. It's been a great interview. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Alec. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here. And thank you for dropping so many golden nuggets, so many great tips and strategies. And thanks to our listeners for listening to Find Your Exit. Make sure you go check out findyourexit.org. That's where you can find out more information about Alec Stern, his bio, and his contact information. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time on Find Your Exit.
Thanks for listening to the Find Your Exit podcast. Don't forget to check out Michelle Seiler Tucker's Build to Sell Blueprint books and Exit Rich, along with more blogs, videos, and resources at findyourexit.org. Be sure to connect with Michelle on Facebook or LinkedIn and stay tuned for her next episode by subscribing in your favorite podcast player.